The rain was pouring down hard in downtown Seattle as David pulled up to Romano's restaurant in his black Tesla. He was already running 15 minutes late for one of the most important business meetings of his life. 3 investors from New York were waiting inside, ready to discuss a deal that could take his tech company to the next level. David grabbed his briefcase and ran through the rain, his expensive suit getting soaked despite his efforts. At 34, he had built a software empire from nothing, starting in his garage just like all those Silicon Valley stories you hear about. But tonight wasn't about celebrating his success. Tonight was about securing the funding that would help his company expand into international markets. As he pushed through the heavy glass doors of Romano's, the warm air hit his face along with the smell of fresh bread and garlic. The restaurant was buzzing with activity. Well-dressed couples sat at candlelit tables while soft jazz music played in the background. This was exactly the kind of place where million-dollar deals were made over expensive wine and pasta. The hostess, a young woman with perfectly styled hair, greeted him with a practiced smile. "Good evening, sir. Do you have a reservation?" "Yes. Under Patterson. I believe my guests are already here," David said, checking his watch again. He hated being late, especially for something this important. "Right this way, Mr. Patterson," she said, leading him through the restaurant. As they walked past the busy tables, David's mind was focused on the presentation he had memorized. He knew every number, every projection, every reason why these investors should believe in his company. But as they approached a corner table where 3 men in suits were already seated, something caught his eye. A waitress was approaching their table with a tray of bread and water glasses. There was something familiar about the way she moved, the way she held her head. As she got closer, David's heart almost stopped. It was Lisa. Lisa from Lincoln High School. Lisa from advanced choir class. Lisa who used to sit next to him during music theory lessons and help him with his harmony assignments. Lisa who had the most beautiful voice he had ever heard and dreams of becoming a famous singer. She looked up and their eyes met across the restaurant. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. The business meeting, the investors, the rain outside. Everything else faded away. All David could see was his old friend, wearing a black uniform with a white apron, carrying a tray of water, glasses. Her face showed the same recognition. Her eyes widened slightly, and a genuine smile spread across her face. Not the professional smile she probably gave to customers all day, but the real smile he remembered from 15 years ago. "David?" she said softly as she approached the table. "Lisa, wow. I can't believe it's really you," he replied, standing up from his chair. The 3 investors looked confused by this unexpected reunion. David quickly introduced them to Lisa, explaining that they were old friends from high school. Lisa handled the situation with perfect professionalism, welcoming the guests and taking their drink orders. But David noticed things that probably escaped the investors' attention. He saw the tired lines around Lisa's eyes. He noticed how she kept glancing toward the manager's station across the room, where a stern-looking man in a dark suit was watching the staff. He saw how her hands shook slightly as she poured the water, and how she seemed thinner than he remembered. "It's so good to see you," Lisa whispered when the investors were busy looking at their menus. "I heard about your company. You really made it, didn't you?" David felt a strange mix of pride and discomfort. Here he was, about to discuss a deal worth millions, while his old friend was working as a waitress. "What about you? Are you still singing?" A shadow passed over Lisa's face. "Not professionally. Life had other plans, you know." Before she could say more, the manager appeared beside their table. He was a heavy-set man with a thick mustache and the kind of expression that suggested he didn't tolerate any nonsense. "Is everything all right here, Lisa?" he asked. But his tone made it clear this wasn't really a question. It was a warning. "Yes, Mr. Rodriguez, just taking the gentleman's order," Lisa replied quickly, her professional mask sliding back into place. "Good. Remember, table 12 is still waiting for their appetizers," he said before walking away. David watched this interaction with growing concern. He could see the stress in Lisa's posture, the way she seemed to shrink under her manager's. This wasn't the confident, talented girl he remembered from high school. As the evening progressed, David found it hard to focus on the business discussion. The investors were impressed with his presentation and seemed ready to move forward with the deal, but his attention kept drifting to Lisa as she moved between tables. He noticed she was working harder than any other server in the restaurant, constantly refilling glasses, clearing plates, and attending to customers with tireless energy. During a brief moment when she stopped by to refill their water glasses, one of the investors complimented the service. "Your waitress is excellent," he told David. "Very professional." "She's actually incredibly talented," David found himself saying. Back in high school, she had the most amazing voice. She was going to study music in college. Lisa's cheeks flushed. Pink. "That was a long time ago," she said quietly. "What happened? Did you study music?" the investor asked with genuine curiosity. Lisa hesitated, glancing nervously toward the manager's station again. "Life happened," she said simply. "Sometimes dreams have to wait." After she walked away, David couldn't shake the feeling that there was so much more to that story. The Lisa he remembered had been so passionate about music, so determined to make it her career. She used to talk about studying at famous music schools and performing on big stages. What could have changed all of that? As the evening wound down and the investors prepared to leave, David found himself lingering at the table. The deal was basically done. They would sign the papers next week. It should have been one of the happiest moments of his life. Instead, he felt troubled by the encounter with Lisa. When she brought the check, David tried to slip a $100 bill under his plate as a tip, but Lisa noticed immediately. "David, no," she said firmly, trying to hand the money back to him. "This is way too much. I didn't do anything special." "You gave us great service," David insisted. "I gave you the same service I give everyone." "I don't need your charity," Lisa replied, her voice quiet but determined. There it was. That pride. He remembered from high school. Lisa had always been independent, always insisted on earning her own way. Even now, in what were clearly difficult circumstances, she wasn't willing to accept what felt like a handout. "It's not charity, Lisa. It's a tip from an old friend who's happy to see you," David said gently. She looked at him for a long moment, then reluctantly accepted the money. "Thank you," she said, "and congratulations on your success. You always were smart in school. I'm not surprised you made it big." As David walked to his car through the now gentle rain, he couldn't stop thinking about Lisa. The tired look in her eyes, the way she worked so hard, the dreams she said had to wait. Something told him there was much more to her story, and for the first time in years, his thoughts weren't focused on business deals and profit margins. He sat in his car for a few minutes, watching through the restaurant windows as Lisa continued working, clearing tables and serving customers with the same professional dedication she had shown all evening. Tomorrow, he decided, he would find out what had happened to his talented friend and why she was working so hard just to get by. David couldn't sleep that night. He kept thinking about Lisa and how different she seemed from the confident girl he remembered from high school. At 3 a.m, he finally gave up trying to sleep and went to his home office. His penthouse apartment overlooked the Seattle skyline, but instead of admiring the view, he found himself staring at his laptop screen. He started with a simple Google search. Lisa Martinez, Seattle. It felt strange, almost like spying, but he needed to understand what had happened to his old friend. The first few results were just white pages, listings, and social media profiles, but nothing that told him the whole story. Then he remembered her younger sister, Amy, who used to pick Lisa up after choir practice. Maybe Amy would be on social media. After some searching, he found Amy's Facebook profile. The sisters looked so much alike that David recognized Amy immediately, even after all these years. Amy's profile was public, and David scrolled through her recent posts. Most were typical family photos and work updates, but then he saw something that made his heart sink. A post from 6 months ago showed Amy with her arm around Lisa at what looked like a hospital. The caption read, "Supporting my amazing sister through another tough day. Mia is such a brave little fighter just like her mom." Mia. Lisa had a daughter. David kept scrolling, piecing together the story from Amy's posts and photos. There was Lisa at a school event, holding the hand of a beautiful little girl with big brown eyes and a bright smile. There was another photo of them at a park, the little girl on a swing while Lisa pushed her higher. But there were also photos that told a different story. Images from hospital visits, posts asking for prayers, and fundraising links for medical expenses. David clicked on one of the fundraising links. The page showed a photo of Lisa and her daughter, both smiling despite to everything they were going through. The description broke David's heart. "Hi everyone. I'm raising money to help cover medical expenses for my 8-year-old daughter Mia, who is battling leukemia. We've been fighting this for 2 years now, and while Mia is the bravest kid I know, the medical bills are overwhelming. Insurance covers some of the treatment, but there are so many extra costs. Travel to specialist appointments, medicines that aren't fully covered, and the special diet she needs to stay strong during chemotherapy." The page showed they had raised about $3,000 out of a $20,000 goal. David stared at the screen, thinking about how he had just signed a deal worth millions while Lisa was struggling to pay for her daughter's cancer treatment. He kept reading. "I'm working 3 jobs right now to make ends meet, but it's still not enough. Mia is my whole world, and I would do anything for her. She loves music just like her mom used to, and even during her treatments she sings songs to make the other kids feel better. Any help would mean the world to us." David leaned back in his chair, feeling a mix of sadness and guilt. While he had been building his tech empire, Lisa had been fighting the biggest battle of her life. He remembered how passionate she used to be about music, how she would light up whenever she talked about her dreams of performing and teaching. He decided to dig deeper. Through LinkedIn, he found some of their old classmates who might know more about Lisa's story. He sent a few careful messages to mutual friends asking about Lisa without revealing why he wanted to know. The replies came back over the next few days, filling in more pieces of the puzzle. Tom, who had played guitar in their high school band, told him that Lisa had indeed gotten a music scholarship to a prestigious college in Boston. She was supposed to study vocal performance and music therapy, but life had other plans. According to Tom, Lisa had gotten pregnant during her sophomore year of college. The father wasn't in the picture, and Lisa had to make a difficult choice. She could either continue her expensive music education while trying to raise a baby alone, or she could come home to Seattle where her family could help her. She chose her daughter. Lisa dropped out of college and moved back home. She took whatever job she could find that would allow her to care for a young child. She worked at a daycare center, then at a music store, then at various restaurants and cafes around the city. She never complained, according to their mutual friends. She just focused on being the best mom she could be. When Mia was old enough for school, Lisa had started to think about going back to music. She had even started giving piano lessons to neighborhood kids on weekends. But then came the diagnosis that changed everything. David's friend Rachel, who worked at the children's hospital, gave him even more details. She had seen Lisa there many times over the past 2 years, always by Mia's side during treatments. "She's incredible," Rachel wrote in her message. "I've never seen a more devoted mother, and you should hear her sing to the kids in the cancer ward. She brings her guitar sometimes and plays for all the patients. The nurses call her their unofficial music therapist." This detail hit David the hardest. Even while dealing with her own daughter's illness and working multiple jobs to pay the bills, Lisa was still finding ways to share her musical gift with others. She was doing exactly what she had always dreamed of doing, using music to help and heal people, just not in the way she had originally planned. David learned more about Lisa's current situation. Besides her job at Romano's, she also worked early morning shifts at a coffee shop and cleaned offices on weekends. She had sold almost everything valuable she owned, including the beautiful piano she had saved up for years to buy. Her car was old and unreliable, but she couldn't afford to replace it. What impressed David most was that despite all these struggles, Lisa had never lost her dignity or her kindness. Several people mentioned how she always had a smile and a kind word for everyone, how she helped other families at the hospital navigate the confusing world of insurance and medical bills, and how she organized small fundraisers for other kids who needed help. The most touching story came from a nurse named Jennifer who had worked with Mia since her diagnosis. "Lisa brings so much light to our ward," she wrote. "When kids are scared about treatments, Lisa sings with them. When parents are overwhelmed and crying in the hallway, Lisa sits with them and listens. She's going through the same thing they are, but somehow she finds strength to help others too. Her daughter is just like her, brave and kind and musical. Even when Mia is feeling sick from chemo, she'll sing little songs to cheer up the other patients." David spent hours reading through all the information he had gathered. Photo after photo showed Lisa at hospital events, school concerts, and community gatherings, always with Mia by her side. The little girl looked so much like her mother, the same bright smile, the same expressive eyes. In several photos, they were performing together, Mia singing while Lisa played guitar. By the time David closed his laptop, the sun was coming up over Seattle. He had learned so much about Lisa's journey over the past 15 years, but more than that, he had gained a deep respect for the woman his old friend had become. She hadn't achieved the fame she had once dreamed of, but she had done something even more important. She had shown incredible strength, sacrifice, and love in the face of unimaginable challenges. Now David had to figure out what to do with this knowledge. Simply writing a check wouldn't be enough, and knowing Lisa's pride, she probably wouldn't accept direct charity anyway. But there had to be something he could do to help his friend who had given up her dreams to save her daughter's life. David knew that simply offering Lisa money would never work. She had too much pride for that, and honestly, he respected her for it. But there had to be a way to help his old friend without making her feel like she was accepting charity. He needed a plan that would give Lisa what she truly deserved. A real opportunity to use her talents while supporting her daughter. For the next 3 days, David couldn't focus on his regular work. His assistant kept asking if everything was okay because he seemed distracted during meetings. Finally, on Thursday morning, an idea started forming in his mind. It came to him while he was reading an article about music therapy programs in hospitals. Music therapy. That was it. David remembered how Lisa used to talk about music therapy back in high school. She had read articles about how music could help sick children feel better, how it could reduce pain and anxiety during medical treatments. She had even written her senior project about starting music therapy programs in hospitals. At the time, David thought it was just another school assignment, but now he realized it had been Lisa's real dream. The more David thought about it, the more excited he became. This wasn't just about helping Lisa. It was about creating something that could help hundreds of children. He grabbed his phone and called his friend Michael, who sat on the board of Seattle Children's Hospital. "Michael, it's David. I need to ask you something. Does the hospital have a music therapy program?" "Music therapy? We have some volunteers who come in occasionally to play instruments, but nothing official." "Why do you ask?" "I think I might have found someone who could start a real program. Someone with the right background and passion for helping kids." They talked for almost an hour. Michael explained that the hospital had been wanting to expand their therapeutic programs for years, but they never had the budget or the right person to lead such an initiative. David could hear the excitement in his friend's voice as they discussed the possibilities. "If you're serious about this, David, I could bring it up at our next board meeting. We'd need someone with proper qualifications, of course, but if they have the right experience and passion." Michael's voice trailed off thoughtfully. "What would something like this cost?" David asked, trying to sound casual. "For a full program? Probably around $200,000 a year to start. That would cover a full-time director's salary, equipment, training materials, and program development. It's not cheap, but the benefits for our patients would be enormous." After hanging up with Michael, David spent the rest of the day researching music therapy certification programs. He learned that many programs offered accelerated courses for people who already had musical backgrounds. Someone like Lisa, with her performance training and natural ability to connect with children, could probably complete the certification in 6 months. But David knew he had to be careful about how he presented this opportunity. If Lisa suspected that he was behind it, she might refuse out of pride. He needed to make it seem completely legitimate and separate from their chance encounter at the restaurant. That evening, David called his old friend Jake, who worked in the entertainment industry in Los Angeles. Jake had connections with hospitals, music schools, and therapy programs across the country. "Jake, I need a favor. I'm looking into music therapy programs, and I came across someone who might be perfect for a position up here in Seattle. But I need this to seem completely professional, not like I'm pulling strings for a friend." "What do you need me to do?" David explained his idea. Jake would reach out to Seattle Children's Hospital as a consultant, suggesting they consider implementing a music therapy program. He would mention that he had identified several potential candidates across the country who might be interested in developing such a program. "This has to be totally authentic, Jake. The person I have in mind is incredibly qualified, but she can't know I'm involved. She needs to earn this position based on her own merits." "Got it. I'll make some calls tomorrow." The next step was trickier. David needed to create an opportunity for Lisa to demonstrate her abilities with children in a hospital setting, but it had to seem natural. He couldn't just arrange an audition. That would be too obvious. Then he remembered what his friend Rachel had told him about Lisa already volunteering at the hospital. She was already there, already singing for the children, already making a difference. All David needed to do was make sure the right people noticed. David called Rachel and asked her to lunch. They met at a quiet cafe near the hospital, and David carefully broached the subject. "Rachel, you mentioned that there's a woman who volunteers in your ward sometimes. Lisa Martinez, she sings for the kids?" "Oh yes, Lisa is wonderful. The children absolutely love her. She comes in whenever she can, usually when her own daughter has treatments." "Why do you ask?" "I've been thinking about music therapy programs lately. Do you think someone like Lisa would be good at that kind of work?" Rachel's face lit up. "Are you kidding? Lisa would be incredible. She has this natural ability to calm anxious children. I've seen kids who were crying and scared completely change when she starts singing. And she's so patient and gentle. Plus, she understands what these families are going through because she's living it herself." "What would you think if the hospital started looking into hiring someone for a real music therapy position? I think it would be the best thing that ever happened to our department. We've needed something like that for years." David smiled. "Well, keep your ears open. I heard through some industry connections that there might be opportunities opening up in that field." Over the next week, David worked behind the scenes to set everything in motion. Jake contacted the hospital administration about music therapy programs. Michael brought up the idea at the board meeting, presenting it as a new initiative that could really help their young patients. The hospital administrators were immediately interested, especially when they learned that funding might be available through anonymous donors who supported children's healthcare programs. The final piece of David's plan was the most delicate. He needed Lisa to be in the right place at the right time to show off her abilities, but it had to happen naturally. David learned from Rachel that the hospital was planning a small event for the children in the cancer ward, just a little party, to celebrate some recent good news about treatment successes. It was scheduled for the following Friday afternoon. Lisa would probably be there anyway since Mia had a treatment that day. David called Michael again. "What if someone from the hospital board happened to visit the cancer ward during that little celebration you're having? Just to see how the children are doing? That could be arranged. Are you thinking what I think you're thinking?" "I'm thinking that if the right people saw how much joy music brings to those kids, they might be more motivated to move forward with a music therapy program." "David, you're either very clever or very sneaky. I'm not sure which. Maybe both. But if it helps sick children and gives a talented person a chance to do what they love, does it matter?" Michael agreed to attend the party, along with Dr. Patricia Williams, the head of the pediatric department. They would go as part of their regular rounds, nothing unusual about it. If Lisa happened to be there singing for the children, well, that would just be a happy coincidence. David spent the rest of the week feeling nervous and excited. He had set all the pieces in motion, but now everything depended on Lisa being herself. The caring, talented musical person she had always been. He believed in her completely, but he also knew that life had been hard on her lately. Would she still have that special spark that made children smile? Would the hospital administrators see what David saw in his old friend? Friday morning arrived, and David found himself unable to concentrate on anything. Somewhere across the city, Lisa was probably getting ready for another day of juggling work and caring for Mia. She had no idea that her entire life might be about to change. She didn't know that her old classmate had been working behind the scenes to create an opportunity that could bring together her love of music, her passion for helping children, and her need to support her daughter. All David could do now was wait and hope that his careful plan would work. Friday afternoon arrived faster than David had expected. He sat in his office, trying to focus on emails, but his mind kept wandering to what was happening at the hospital. Somewhere in the pediatric ward, Lisa was probably sitting with Mia during her treatment, not knowing that her life was about to change forever. David had resisted the urge to go to the hospital himself. He couldn't risk Lisa seeing him there and figuring out that he was somehow involved. Instead, he had asked Rachel to text him updates about how things were going. At 2:30 p.m., his phone buzzed. Rachel's message was short. "The party is starting. Lisa is here with Mia. The board members just arrived." David stared at his phone, his heart beating faster than it should for someone who was just sitting at a desk. Everything he had carefully planned over the past 2 weeks was now in motion. There was nothing more he could do except wait. Meanwhile, at Seattle Children's Hospital, Lisa was helping Mia get comfortable in her treatment chair. The chemotherapy session would take about 3 hours, but today felt different because of the little celebration happening in the common area. Several families were gathered there, and the nurses had decorated with colorful balloons and streamers. "Mom, can we go see the party after my treatment starts?" Mia asked, her voice tired but hopeful. Even after 2 years of this routine, she still tried to find joy in small moments. "Of course, sweetie. Once the medicine starts working, we can go hang out with the other kids," Lisa replied, smoothing her daughter's hair. Mia smiled and closed her eyes as the IV began delivering the medication that was helping fight her cancer. Lisa watched her daughter's peaceful face and felt the familiar mix of hope and worry that had become her constant companion. After about 30 minutes, when Mia was comfortable and the treatment was going smoothly, they made their way to the common area. Lisa brought her guitar, which she always kept in a case by Mia's treatment chair. Over the past 2 years, it had become a tradition. Whenever Mia felt well enough, they would sing together for the other children. The common area was buzzing with activity. About 15 children of various ages were there with their families, along with several nurses and hospital staff. Lisa noticed 2 people in professional clothes standing near the nurses' station, a man in a gray suit and a woman in a white coat with a stethoscope. They looked important, but Lisa didn't pay them much attention. Her focus was on the children who had started gathering around her guitar case. "Miss Lisa, are you going to play for us today?" asked Tommy, a 6-year-old boy who was between surgeries. For a rare condition, his eyes lit up whenever he saw Lisa's guitar. "What would you like to hear, Tommy?" Lisa asked, settling into a chair and tuning her guitar. "The Rainbow Song," called out several children at once. Over the months, somewhere, Over the Rainbow had become their favorite. Lisa had taught them all the words, and they loved singing along. Lisa started playing the gentle opening chords, and immediately the room seemed to calm down. Parents stopped their conversations to listen. Nurses paused in their work. Even the children who had been running around started to gather in a circle around Lisa and Mia. As Lisa began to sing, her voice filled the room with warmth and hope. But what happened next was something truly special. One by one, the children started joining in. First Mia, whose voice blended perfectly with her mother's. Then Tommy, singing with all his heart despite his shaky voice. Soon, almost every child in the room was singing along. The man in the gray suit, Michael from the hospital board, leaned over to Dr. Williams and whispered, "Are you seeing this?" Dr. Williams nodded, watching in amazement as a room full of sick children transformed into a choir of hope and joy. She had worked in pediatric medicine for 20 years, but she had never seen anything quite like this. The children weren't just singing, they were healing. The worry lines on parents' faces were softening. Even the teenagers who usually tried to act too cool for everything were quietly humming along. When the song ended, the children immediately asked for another one. Lisa looked at Mia, who nodded enthusiastically despite her tiredness. "What about the Sunshine Song?" Lisa suggested, starting the chords for "You Are My Sunshine." This time something even more beautiful happened. The children started creating their own harmonies. Some clapped along with the rhythm. A few of the older kids started dancing gently in their wheelchairs. Parents began taking videos on their phones, tears in their eyes as they watched their sick children looking truly happy. But the most magical moment came when 8-year-old Sophia, who had barely spoken since starting her brain tumor treatment, suddenly began singing a solo verse. Her voice was soft and uncertain at first, but with Lisa's encouraging smile and gentle guitar accompaniment, she grew more confident. The entire room fell silent except for Sophia's sweet voice and Lisa's guitar. When Sophia finished, the room erupted in applause. Her parents were crying openly, and even some of the nurses had to wipe their eyes. It was the first time Sophia had participated in any group activity since her diagnosis. Dr. Williams turned to Michael with a look of amazement. "In 20 years of pediatric medicine, I have never seen anything like this. Look at these children, look at their faces." Michael nodded, equally moved by what he was witnessing. "This is exactly what our hospital needs. This is real healing." For the next hour, Lisa led the children through song after song. She seemed to know instinctively which songs would work best for different moments. Upbeat songs when the energy was high, gentle lullabies when some of the younger children started getting tired, and interactive songs that got everyone clapping and moving. What impressed the hospital administrators most was how Lisa connected with each individual child. She remembered Tommy's favorite song from previous visits. She encouraged the shy children to join in at their own pace. She adapted songs to include the children's names, making each one feel special. And through it all, Mia sat beside her mother, sometimes singing along, sometimes just smiling as she watched her mom bring joy to other children. When the informal concert finally ended, Dr. Williams approached Lisa. "Excuse me, I'm Dr. Williams, head of pediatrics here. I couldn't help but notice the incredible connection you have with our patients." Lisa stood up, suddenly feeling self-conscious. "Oh, thank you. I just like to sing with the kids when we're here for Mia's treatments." "How long have you been doing this?" Dr. Williams asked. "About 2 years, whenever Mia feels up to it. The children seem to enjoy it, and honestly, it helps us too. Music makes everything feel a little less scary." Michael stepped forward. "I'm Michael Thompson from the hospital board. What we just witnessed was truly remarkable. Have you ever considered doing this professionally?" Lisa looked confused. "Professionally? I'm not sure what you mean." Dr. Williams smiled. "We've been discussing the possibility of starting a formal music therapy program here at the hospital. Based on what I just saw, you would be perfect for a position like that." Lisa's mouth fell open slightly. "A music therapy program? Here?" "The healing power of music is well documented in medical literature," Dr. Williams explained. "But what you do goes beyond that. You create connection, hope, and joy. Those are powerful medicines." "I don't have official music therapy certification," Lisa said hesitantly. "That can be arranged," Michael replied. "We would provide training and certification as part of the position. The question is, would you be interested in something like this?" Lisa looked down at Mia, who was smiling up at her with tired but excited eyes. Then she looked around the room at all the children and families who had shared in the music. "Are you serious?" Lisa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Completely serious," Dr. Williams replied. "We'd like to offer you the position of director of music therapy for our pediatric department. It would be a full-time position with benefits, and it would involve developing music programs for all our young patients." Lisa felt her knees go weak. After years of struggling, of working multiple jobs just to pay bills, someone was offering her a chance to do what she loved while helping children and supporting her daughter. "When would this start?" she asked, hardly daring to believe this was real. as soon as you can complete the certification program. We estimate about 6 months of training. Lisa looked at Mia again, then back at Dr. Williams. With tears in her eyes, she nodded. Yes, I would love to do this. The room erupted, in cheers from the children and families who had overheard the conversation. Even the nurses were clapping. Lisa hugged Mia tightly, both of them crying happy tears as their future suddenly looked brighter than it had in years. 6 months later, Lisa's life looked completely different. She walked through the halls of Seattle Children's Hospital wearing her official ID badge that read Lisa Martinez, Director of Music Therapy. It still felt like a dream sometimes. After years of working 3 jobs just to survive, she now had a career doing exactly what she loved most, using music to help children heal. The transformation had been incredible. Lisa had completed her music therapy certification with flying colors, studying during evenings and weekends while Mia's health slowly improved. The cancer treatments were working, and Mia's latest test results showed she was in remission. For the first time in 2 years, Lisa could sleep at night without worrying about losing her daughter or how she would pay for the next round of treatments. The music therapy program had exceeded everyone's expectations. Lisa had created different programs for various age groups and medical conditions. There were lullaby sessions for babies in the NICU, interactive music games for toddlers with developmental delays, and songwriting workshops for teenagers dealing with chronic illnesses. The hospital had even installed a small recording studio where older patients could create their own songs as a way to express their feelings about their medical journey. But Lisa's proudest achievement was the Healing Voices Choir, a group made up of young patients, siblings, and even some parents who met every week to sing together. The choir had become so popular that they were invited to perform at community events around Seattle. Seeing children who had been through so much hardship standing on stage, singing with confidence and joy, never failed to move audiences to tears. Tonight was special, though. The hospital was holding its annual fundraising gala, and Lisa had been asked to perform for all the donors and supporters who made the hospital's work possible. She stood backstage in the hotel ballroom, wearing the most beautiful dress she had owned in years, feeling nervous and excited at the same time. Mia was sitting in the front row with Lisa's sister Amy, both of them beaming with pride. Mia looked healthy and strong, her hair starting to grow back in soft curls after finishing chemotherapy 3 months earlier. She was wearing a sparkly dress that matched her mother's, and she would be joining Lisa on stage for one special song. "Ladies and gentlemen," the hospital CEO announced to the crowd of nearly 500 people, "I'd like you to meet someone who has transformed our pediatric department in ways we never imagined possible. In just 6 months, Lisa Martinez has created a music therapy program that has touched the lives of over 300 children and their families. Tonight, she's going to share with you the healing power of music." Lisa walked onto the stage to warm applause. The bright lights made it hard to see the audience clearly, but she could feel their attention and support. She had performed in front of people many times over the years, but never for something this important. "Thank you so much," she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "6 months ago, I was working as a waitress trying to figure out how to pay for my daughter's cancer treatments. Today, I have the privilege of using music to help children heal every single day. This transformation didn't happen because of anything special that I did. It happened because of the kindness and vision of people who believed that music could make a difference in children's lives." She paused and looked toward where Mia was sitting. "My daughter Mia taught me that even in the darkest moments, there's always a reason to sing. She sang through chemotherapy sessions. She sang to comfort other children who were scared. She showed me that music isn't just entertainment, it's medicine for the soul." Lisa moved to the piano that had been set up on stage. "I'd like to dedicate tonight's performance to an anonymous donor whose generosity made our music therapy program possible. Whoever you are, wherever you are, you've given hundreds of families something precious, hope, healing, and the reminder that we're not alone in our struggles." In the back of the ballroom, David felt his throat tighten with emotion. He had planned to slip out after Lisa's introduction, but he found himself frozen in his seat, watching his old friend shine on stage. Lisa began playing a gentle melody, and her voice filled the room with a song she had written specifically for tonight. It was called Healing Hands, and it told the story of all the people who work together to help sick children, doctors, nurses, families, and even music therapists. The lyrics spoke about how healing comes in many forms, and how sometimes the most powerful medicine is simply knowing that someone cares. Halfway through the song, Mia joined her mother on stage. Despite being only 8 years old, she sang with confidence and joy, her small voice blending beautifully with Lisa's. The audience was captivated as mother and daughter performed together, representing the hope and resilience that defined the hospital's mission. When the song ended, the ballroom erupted in a standing ovation. Many people in the audience were wiping their eyes, moved by the performance and the story behind it. Lisa and Mia took their bows, both glowing with happiness. After the formal program ended, Lisa mingled with the donors and hospital staff at the reception. Person after person approached her to share how much the music therapy program meant to their family, or to express amazement at the transformation they had witnessed in the pediatric ward. Dr. Williams found Lisa near the dessert table and gave her a warm hug. "I have some wonderful news. The board approved funding to expand the program next year. We want to add 2 more music therapists and create programs for our adult patients too." Lisa's eyes widened. "Really? We can help even more people?" "Thanks to tonight's donations and the success you've already demonstrated, yes. The board is also considering making you the director of music therapy for the entire hospital system, not just pediatrics." As Lisa absorbed this incredible news, she noticed a familiar figure approaching from across the room. Her heart skipped a beat as she recognized David, looking handsome in his black tuxedo but seeming nervous about something. "Lisa, congratulations on your performance tonight. It was absolutely beautiful," he said, his voice warm but with an odd undertone she couldn't quite identify. "David, I can't believe you're here. How did you know about this event?" Well, I try to support children's charities when I can," he replied, which was completely true even if it wasn't the whole truth. "How have things been going with your new job?" Lisa's face lit up as she told him about the music therapy program, about Mia's recovery, about all the children she was able to help every day. As she spoke, David watched her with a mixture of joy and amazement. This was the Lisa he remembered from high school, passionate, glowing, completely alive when she talked about music and helping others. "You know," Lisa said thoughtfully, "sometimes I think about how everything happened. Meeting you at the restaurant that night, then getting offered this dream job just a few weeks later. It's like the universe was finally ready to give me a break." David smiled, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. "Maybe the universe just needed the right people to recognize your talents." "I keep thinking about our anonymous donor," Lisa continued. "I wish I could thank them properly. They didn't just give money. They gave me back my life, my purpose, my ability to provide for Mia while doing what I love." David looked into her eyes, seeing the genuine gratitude there, and for a moment he almost told her the truth. But then he realized that it didn't matter. What mattered was that Lisa was exactly where she belonged, using her gifts to heal and inspire others. "I'm sure they know how grateful you are," David said softly. "And I'm sure seeing what you've accomplished with this opportunity is all the thanks they need." As the evening wound down, David watched Lisa gather her things and collect Mia from where she had been playing with some other children. Mother and daughter walked toward the exit together, both of them radiating happiness and hope. Lisa paused at the door and turned back toward the ballroom, as if she was looking for someone. Her eyes found David's across the room, and she waved goodbye with a smile that reminded him of their teenage years when the future seemed full of infinite possibilities. As David drove home through the Seattle streets, he thought about the journey that had brought them all to this moment. Sometimes the most beautiful stories aren't about the grand gestures or dramatic revelations. Sometimes they're about quiet kindnesses, second chances, and the way life can surprise us with exactly what we need when we need it most. Lisa had her music back. Mia had her health back, and David had learned something valuable about using his success to create opportunities for others to shine. It was, he decided, the best investment he had ever made.